Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of the Perception Diet, and hello from Thailand. Yeah, we're actually here. That's not the point of this video, and I'm going to get to the point of my video in just a second, but I just wanted to say that, yeah, we're finally here, we're in Thailand, and life is amazing. And in future videos, I will totally show you kind of like more day in the life stuff, because I know that that'll probably be interesting. So that's just, yeah, I just wanted to kind of share with you my community, who I know you guys have been kind of on this like journey of getting to Thailand with me, so let's celebrate together. So that's that. So now, okay, that's over. So the point of this video is, a couple of videos ago, I made a video called Why Your Intuition Leads You to the Worst Stuff Sometimes. And in response to that video, I got a question that basically said, okay, so once your intuition has led you to something like very painful and very challenging, what do you do then? Like, how do you get yourself back to a place where you feel good and where life is fun and where you feel, yeah, exactly, like harmonious in your life again? And I thought that is an excellent question, and I'm going to make a video on that. So here are my steps for what to do when your intuition has led you to something that is very uncomfortable and not what you wanted and not what you expected, and you had this idea in your head of what, you know, things were going to be like, and it ends up being not like that at all. Okay, so step one is to fully acknowledge how you actually feel about what has happened. Okay, so I know that in the spiritual community, like especially in the spirituality community and in the self-help community and in the law of attraction community and all these kind of different communities, it's very pervasive thinking that says, don't let yourself have a negative thought, that it's unspiritual to be upset about your circumstance, that it's wrong and it's bad and you shouldn't be, and you should be positive and think positive, and especially they say, you know, if you have a bad thought, you're just going to manifest more terrible things, and then everyone starts getting afraid of their thoughts, and blah, 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 blah. And I just want to say that, like, really all of that is superstition, okay? At the end of the day, the most important thing you can do when you find yourself in a situation that you really didn't want to be in and that you didn't think you were going to be in and that your intuition led you into, and then it turns out that it's totally very, like, uncomfortable and unpleasant, is, yeah, acknowledge how you feel, because those feelings are there for a reason, okay? And you're a person, and you're a human, and you are worthy and deserving of having your feelings, and you're worthy and deserving of feeling how you feel and having those feelings acknowledged, okay? And validated by you. So don't over-spiritualize this. Really, don't spiritualize this, and don't let yourself get caught up in superstition, right? Be where you are and say, okay, this sucks. I hate this. I really wish this hadn't happened. I really wish that I didn't have to go through this. Whatever it is that you feel, acknowledge it. And acknowledge it as many times as you need to until you feel heard by yourself. Okay, because this is the thing about your inner child. It's not going to go away until it's heard. Okay? And then the second thing to understand about acknowledging your feelings is that your inner guidance system knows how to glean exactly what you need to glean from the situation and move you to that more optimal state, which is the point of the situation you're in. So remembering again, your intuition is leading you into uncomfortable situations, not to punish you or shame you or make your life shitty. Your intuition leads you into these situations to free you, okay? But the thing is that you're not going to be able to get to the higher perspective where you're able to glean from your uncomfortable situation what you're meant to be gleaning from it so that you can become free and happy again until you acknowledge what is. And that's the paradox of this thing, okay? You can't skip the acknowledging how much you hate it phase, all right? So that's step one. Acknowledge how much you hate it. Acknowledge that you don't want to be there. Acknowledge that you wish this, and this had happened. Let yourself rage, let yourself cry, let yourself really embrace the emotion, and don't tell yourself you shouldn't feel how you feel, right? Really practice being compassionate with yourself and being understanding with yourself, and knowing that as you allow yourself to feel how you feel, you're not going to get stuck in it. This is actually how you process it and move forward. Okay? The only way you get stuck in it and then stuck in the situation is if you deny it. Alright? Denial is the only thing that stops forward momentum. So allow yourself to feel how you feel. Acknowledge how you feel, and then be compassionate with yourself about how you feel. Don't be neutral and cold and be like, okay, I'm feeling sadness. Right? Be like, oh honey, I'm so sorry that you feel sad. Of course you feel sad. This isn't what you wanted. It all turned out totally different. It all turned out terrible. No. Right? I'm so sorry. Right? Second step. What do I need? What do I need in this moment from myself in order to make myself feel supported? Right? So as you're acknowledging your feelings and as you're acknowledging how you feel about the situation and as you're allowing yourself to feel what you feel, you start to move into, okay, what can I do for myself that makes me feel just that much more supported, that much more acknowledged, that much more safe, that much more heard, that much more nourished, that much more supported. Okay? So that might be like, okay, I need to stop talking to this person. I need to take a couple of things off my plate. I need to add in getting a massage once a week. I need to journal a little bit more. I need to spend a little bit more time alone. Whatever it is that you need, right? You start to go inside and you start to say, okay, how can I nourish myself within this circumstance? So this is the thing. Usually when we get in circumstances where we feel really uncomfortable and our intuition has led us somewhere that's like really hard and we don't like it, whatever, this is when we like remove self-care from ourselves. There's like this knee-jerk reaction of like, I'm not going to allow myself to have any enjoyment, I'm not going to allow myself to have any fun, I'm not going to allow myself to have any relaxation, I'm not going to allow myself to have any nourishment until I fix this situation, right? Until I fix myself because I'm the one that got me into this, until I fix whatever the situation itself, until I get out of this. It's like, because this is horrible, I'm going to make this 100% horrible, right? And no amount of enjoyment or nourishment or self-care is going to happen here because I don't want to be in this situation, and I will start doing those things when I'm happier. But the thing is, okay, one of the hidden reasons that the universe will send us into uncomfortable situations is to teach us how to nourish ourselves in the midst of things, okay? Right? So just know that your knee-jerk reaction is probably going to be to remove love from yourself, right? To take away self-care, to take away nourishment, to take away enjoyment, to take away pleasure until you're happy, right? Because I think there's a subconscious feeling that we all have that we don't want to enjoy ourselves in our shitty situation because we think if we start to enjoy ourselves in our shitty situation, we're going to get stuck in it forever, right? And it's this weird loop that when you really start to look at it, it doesn't really make any sense, right? Because like, if you start to enjoy yourself inside your shitty situation, all of a sudden your shitty situation isn't so shitty, and you start to realize that it's not the situation that's actually making you so uncomfortable. It's a lot about how you're thinking and how you're feeling and what your perception is of these are the rules for when I can be happy and these are the rules for when I can't. Okay, so this is kind of part 3. So part 2 is start to give yourself nourishment, love, fun, enjoyment, relaxation inside your negative situation. Okay? Then step 3 is noticing the resistance you have to doing that, right? Because this is where you start to see your blocks. And this is where we start to get into why your intuition led you into this situation in the first place. Because most of the time, our intuition, so some of the time, right? Again, noticing the blocks you have to making whatever situation you're in better for yourself in the way that you can. So you may not be able to change the job. You may not be able to change the city you're living in. You may not be able to change, X, Y, and Z. But, like I said, you can change how you're reacting and responding to the job. You can start to change what you're doing when you're not at your job. You can start to change what you do on your lunch break at your job. You can start to, you see what I'm saying? To make it a little bit more comfortable. So rather than making it 100% terrible and just suffering, you start to make it a little better for yourself, change the things you can change, okay? And this is where you start to notice that you have built up resistance to certain situations and said, I cannot be happy here. When in fact, what's happening is you're not allowing yourself to be happy in certain situations because you've decided that there are certain situations where I can be happy and certain situations where I can't. So when I'm in these situations where I can't be happy, I can't be happy. Okay? And that's what the universe is trying to liberate you from, right? The universe is trying to help liberate you from any restrictions to the flow of joy. All right? And most of the time, you are going to discover that a lot of these restrictions to the joy of life are totally internal. It's not because of the job. It's not because of the city. It's not because of the whatever. It's because of the rules you've made around why you're not allowed to enjoy yourself in these places. Okay? And then number 4 is as you start to allow yourself to align with this, giving yourself permission to enjoy what it is that you're experiencing, even though it's not the ideal of what you want, right? This simultaneously starts to raise your vibration, and this means that the things that really do need to change, like if you're in an abusive relationship, or if you do need to quit your job, or you do need whatever, this is how you start to gain the empowerment to do that, okay? So step 4 is to spend time in contemplation and look for where your limiting beliefs are holding you down, okay? So for instance, sometimes we have a limiting belief that says, I can't grow unless I'm suffering. And so our intuition leads us over and over and over again into situations where we suffer to show us that that's not the only way that growth happens, you see? So really start to dissect your belief systems around the situation and say, okay, where do I need to liberate myself from my painful belief systems? What are my painful belief systems that are holding me in this situation, right? So as I'm starting to allow myself to nourish myself and enjoy myself, even in spite of this negative situation, right? This helps to relax and release resistance. And then you start to ask yourself, okay, so what's the blessing in this situation, right? And that's what's going to help lower your resistance to the situation even more, so you can start to uncover what your painful belief systems are that might be holding you in the situation, okay? So I know step 4 kind of seems a little cloudy, so I'm going to say it again. You're going to ask yourself, you're going to start to get silent every day, practicing asking yourself, okay, what's the blessing in this situation? What are you trying to show me, intuition, through this situation? And most of the time, it's going to be limiting belief systems, okay? Limiting belief systems that once you start to clear within yourself, right? So you're releasing and relaxing resistance to how you feel. You're releasing and relaxing resistance to the actual situation by allowing yourself to enjoy it. And then you start to release and relax resistance to the thing you hate by asking how it's serving you. And this will start to reveal to you what your limiting beliefs are, and that's what's going to help you start to shift and change and grow, so that either your complete perception of what's happening to you will change, yeah, or the situation will change, or both, all right? So this is how we start to move through this, right? So you start to acknowledge and realize the rules that you've built for yourself, and you've built for your life, and you've built for your happiness, and you start to break them down. And you start to say, okay, I made up rules that I couldn't be happy until this, and this was happening. But really what it is I wasn't giving myself permission to enjoy my life until this, and this was happening. So can I give myself permission to enjoy my life in this? And then, like I say, this is the paradoxical thing, is oftentimes when you start to allow yourself to enjoy where you are and enjoy what's going on, that's when the situation shifts and you all of a sudden find yourself in something that is more enjoyable. But then you have like a much deeper appreciation for it, and you're not afraid to lose it because you know that you can be happy anywhere, okay? And so again, I'm talking to you about this through my experience, right? I'm in Thailand now, and for a good 2 years, I was convinced that I could only be happy here. And I made my life really shitty and really miserable, right? And I did all the wrong things. I beat myself up for not being happy. I resisted the situation. I took love away from myself. I wouldn't let myself enjoy anything. I shut my life down completely until I was just like, nope, I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to have a good time. I'm not going to be loving. I'm not going to do any of these things until I'm in Thailand, and everything else I can't, right? And so I'm telling you this from experience, okay? I practiced all of these things. I practiced releasing resistance to myself. I started to see where my limiting belief systems were about my happiness and my joy, and how I thought I had to learn lessons, and how I thought I had to, suffer to get what I wanted, and life was hard, and and all of these things, right? And it's been this huge, long journey of my intuition leading me into all of these situations that were not here, that eventually did lead me here, okay? And I'm saying that by the time I started to actually fully integrate what the universe was trying to teach me, and to allow myself to be happy where I was, and to have my routine where I was, and realize that life doesn't have to be a struggle, and I don't need to be punished all the time in order to be learning and growing, and all of these things, okay, my intuition led me to all of these things, then all of a sudden Thailand happened, okay? So this is what I'm saying. Really practice. So these are 4 different ways of practicing releasing resistance, so that you can really take a look at what's going on inside of you, and how your belief systems are out of alignment with reality, which is really, at the end of the day, the only thing that ever makes us upset, is when our belief systems and reality don't align, okay? And so this is about helping you to break down your barriers, and break down your prisons, and break down maybe self-imposed beliefs that you have about yourself and about the world, and what you deserve, and what you think you should have to go through, and right? And your intuition leads you into these situations, these 3D manifestations of these things, to be like, are you sure you want to believe this? Are you sure you want to hold on to this? Are you sure you want to hold on to this concept? And that's why asking, how is this blessing me, is the most important thing that you can do. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time to release resistance, to get to a place where you can see, oh, this is showing me that I believe that I am deserving of a shitty relationship, right? I'm in this shitty relationship because I just have no self-esteem, right? And then the second you start to realize that, and you're practicing compassion, and you're practicing loving yourself, and you're not trying to fix yourself, you just see it, all of a sudden you can be like, okay, well, maybe I can start to think of myself in a different way. And then you start to behave in a different way, and then you start to live in a different way, and you speak about yourself in a different way, and all these things shift, and then all of a sudden you're no longer a match to a shitty relationship, right? But that shitty relationship is the thing that showed you what you were believing about yourself, right? So I hope that helps. If you got yourself into a situation that you really hate, just start to slowly release resistance, right? One thing at a time. Releasing resistance to how you feel, releasing resistance to what you think, releasing resistance to loving yourself inside of it, releasing resistance to how is this blessing me, and then allowing yourself to move in to really gleaning what the universe has for you, so you can move forward, because that's how it's going to happen. And you're going to move forward from the inside first, okay? You're going to find yourself either being okay with the situation, right, starting to enjoy it, starting whatever, and then it moves, or you're going to find yourself being like, oh, I never had to be in this at all to begin with. Here's my exit, that the door was always open, right? And you're going to walk through it. That's how it's going to happen. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I love hearing from you. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Find me on Patreon down below, Facebook, Perception Trainers. Find me on Instagram, Allie_Perception Trainers. And I'll see you in the next video.